Let's head to the western region where we have some cocoa farmers, who are talking to COCOBOD regarding the contributions towards their pension scheme. Now, they think that what COCOBOD is offering, i.e. that 1% towards their pension scheme, is woefully inadequate. What do they want? How much do they want? We have a report, filed by our regional correspondent. We take a look at this. When we return, we'll try to find some answers.
The Cocoa Farmers Pension Scheme was a campaign promise aimed at empowering farmers to help better their livelihoods even after retiring. After several years of waiting for the scheme to be rolled out, it is now set to take off. The Cocoa Farmers Pension Scheme, which is a three-tier scheme, expects farmers to contribute 5% of their cocoa produce, while COCOBOD will add 1% to their contribution. Speaking on the sidelines of a COCOBOD organized sensitization program for farmers at Wasamanson and Anoma Obidi in the Mpoho district and Hunter West municipality respectively, the public affairs manager of the Ghana Cocoa Board, Fifi Boafo, gave an overview of the scheme and the expectation.
Farmers are supposed to contribute 5% of their produce every time they go to the cocoa shed. This 5% contribution, COCOBOD will also contribute 1%, and the trustees will manage the funds on behalf of the cocoa farmers. Farmers are supposed to contribute to age 55, but mindful of the fact that already there are farmers who are beyond age 55. So the arrangement is such that those who are beyond 50 are supposed to contribute a minimum of 5 years and they can benefit from the scheme. Also, the farmer pension scheme, we've created two different accounts. One account is supposed to work throughout the period, and the other account, the 25%, the farmers have the opportunity in a critical situation, for example, financing their children education, to fall on that 25% to do so before the retiring age. When the farmers retire, they are supposed to receive a lump sum, and then they have a minimum of 15 years also to benefit in terms of their monthly uh, pension benefits they are supposed to receive. After the 15 years, if the farmer is still alive, the farmer will continue to still enjoy the monthly benefits. But in a situation whereby the farmer passes after the 15 years, then that is the end of it. But even before the 15 years, if the farmer should pass, then the beneficiaries of the farmer will also benefit from the contribution the farmer has made. If we look at the cocoa management system, the registration we did, of course, we've still realized that there are some farmers who have not still been captured, but those who have been captured are beyond 700. So the estimation is that we are supposed to capture at least about 800,000 cocoa farmers in Ghana.
While the farmers welcome the scheme as a good policy, they however called on COCOBOD to increase its contribution to the scheme.
I feel happy for my friend because next 2 years by this time, my father will go for pension. And because the government have brought the pension pay scheme or everything, it will help my father. And even when he go and put and buy sell the cocoa, he get money. And also at the end of everything, the pension will help my father to even look after the siblings that are coming. So I'm happy. I appreciate what the government did, and I'm proud of the government. I hope this will continue to tilt it.
I'm glad that COCOBOD has brought this pension scheme into existence. By God's grace, we have waited for long. We thank COCOBOD executives that they have think about us and they have brought this pension scheme. For now, I think what I want them to do is that 1% that they will add, if they can increase it for us, because me, I will do my own that they are saying 5%, but I will extend it to about 15% so that I can enjoy a lot at the end of my 60 years or 55 years.
The expectation of the Ghana Cocoa Board is that the measures that they have actually put in place for the cocoa sector to actually thrive will all yield the needed expectation.
All right, and so that was details of the demands from cocoa farmers, you know, and what COCOBOD is also willing to contribute towards their pension. So, David, this is where it stands, and I think that I'm tempted, you know, to understand where the cocoa farmers are coming from.
Yeah.
Because in the first place, okay, they go through all this, the sweat and blood, and then prices are determined by COCOBOD. It's not like they have much of a say in there because, well, somebody needs to buy it, and this is how much we are prepared to give out. Now, at the end of it all, this is what we are also going to contribute towards your pension.
I think that if you look at it from this perspective, the employer in a normal corporate setting, the employer contributes 13% towards your pension scheme. You are supposed to, as an individual, contribute 5.5%, okay, to the scheme. This one, it appears, unless we are saying the cocoa farmers are the employers, it appears that they flip the script.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that of course, some of the cocoa economics I don't necessarily understand, but I feel as though the least COCOBOD should do is to match whatever the cocoa farmers are doing. You know, so if you say 5%, also contribute 5 in addition. You know, because, and this is my rationale, because at the end of the day, the cocoa farmers are providing the voluminous amounts of cocoa that they are giving to the nation, which is what we then, you know, at the end of the day, gives us the bragging rights to say that we are the #1 producer of cocoa in the world, or we are the #2 producer of cocoa in the world, right? It's coming from all these farmers, right? So I think the least we can do for them in terms of after they are done producing is to take care of them decently.
Of course.
You
now,
know.
yeah, because you also realize that they are, you know, giving their whole lives, you know, to, as I think that generally workers' issues and all these really need to be paid very much attention to, okay? Because you realize that, look, it's like you don't have much to talk about. I remember when Caleb went to Asasawa, you know, with a maize story and all that. It's like the farmers toil so much, and at the end of the day, it's a buyer's market. Okay, so you do so much, you invest so much, but it is an issue of how much I can pay for whatever. So your toils and your contribution, in a way, you know, is not what we are really looking at.
Well, yes. So, of course, people like the European Union and so on, prices are set there, right? Now, I'm asking myself, what if we are if Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana are the largest producers of cocoa in the world, why can't we have more of a say at the table to say that, you know what, we have a united front, this is what we would like to prefer, and say, let's give us this amount, you know, versus. Well, we've been joined by the Public Affairs Manager for Ghana COCOBOD, Mr. Fifi Boafo. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Welcome to Breakfast Daily.
Thank you.
All right, so the farmers are crying out for a little extra. I have been wondering and discussing with Frema here on set, why is it that COCOBOD will not say match whatever they are contributing towards their pension scheme?
Well, I think that if you say they are crying out, that's a little bit hyperbolic.
Really?
Yes, I think so.
Well,
it's a genuine concern expressed by some farmers. I have seen the video, and it was, if you have been on the ground since.
Okay, it appears we have a challenge on the line there. That was Fifi Boafo. We'll try and reach him still to bring us some clarification on COCOBOD's position as far as the contribution towards the pension scheme for the farmers cocoa farmers is concerned. But Ofrima, you don't get my point.
No, I do, but Fifi's initial comment says that it's a far cry.
It says that if we see that the farmers are crying, it's a bit of a hyperbolic. Well, it is a figurative, terminology anyway. I mean,
no, but this one is literally.
Well, he says it's a hyperbolic.
No, well, so Fee is back.
Yeah.
Fee, so can you shed more light on this if you say it's hyperbolic, because literally the people are complaining.
No. Well, it was a concern. I've watched the video, and the farmers. Like I said, I've been to the Ashanti region. I've been to Western region. I've engaged the farmers when we started. I speak directly to the farmers at farmers' rallies, and then they share their concerns and their questions, which I address them. Mm-hmm. So I say it's hyperbolic because it is not the fulcrum of their concern. It is one of the things that has come up, but it is not the main thing that the farmers have expressed concern about. The large part of their concerns has to do with the sustainability of the scheme and as to whether or not it's going to stay, and then it will transcend one government to the other. But of course, it's a genuine concern when a farmer suggests that, well, our expectation is that this figure could be increased. The same farmer who made this request also said that, well, for him, he feels that the 5% which COCOBOD or the scheme is proposing that farmers pay, he is going to pay more because indeed the farmers have the right or the opportunity to contribute more than the minimum 5% that is being proposed. So at the time where he's proposing that he will contribute more than the 5%, and the expectation is that COCOBOD should also contribute more than 5%. Yes, that's why I say that it's hyperbolic in nature. If you say they are crying for a massive increase or doubling up how much the COCOBOD is contributing to them. But it's a genuine concern. We agree that if you want a better retirement, then the contribution has to be some amount of figure which will be comfortable for you to retire on. So that's a concern that has been expressed. Just as I indicated, the rounds we've done, it is also to pick up information and concerns from the farmers, which will pass on to our superiors for consideration.
Right now, you just mentioned that one of their major concerns was how to make sure that other governments will not come and truncate this arrangement. Now, what are you putting in place to ensure? I'm sure, sometimes you don't have much of a control, but in your arrangement, what are you doing to ensure that this becomes something that can be sustained and, will transcend across changes of governments, if there's any?
Well, the scheme is one that is not controlled by COCOBOD. Mm-hmm. It is under the MPRA Act, and there are trustees who are not government operatives. Indeed, the farmers have 4 representatives on the board of trustees, and then there are fund managers. So this is not a direct government operation, which makes it easier for government operatives to manipulate how the system is run. So yes, in a way, it has been insulated from political manipulation, and we believe largely that this will be one thing political operatives will not want to toy with.
Would you consider their request, to increase the 1% from COCOBOD?
Well, it's feedback we picked from the farmers, among other concerns that have been expressed. We shall communicate that to our superiors, and that will be a matter for a decision to be taken at a higher level.
But generally, how are we doing as a country in terms of cocoa production?
Well, our production keeps fluctuating depending on the weather pattern, because we do rain-fed agriculture in our side of the world. So it keeps fluctuating. There are a number of interventions that have been put in place that seem to be generating some results. However, there are some challenges we have faced with. The weather, of course, is the first one. But apart from that, illegal mining is also affecting our operations. And the price of the cocoa at the world market is also a challenge we are dealing with at present.
Fifi, the situation as it stands for Ghana is that we've dropped below the number one. We've lost our number one position. When is there any plan by COCOBOD to take us back up to number one in the world?
Well, we dropped that position some years ago.
Yes.
It's been quite some time.
Yes.
Yes, we are dealing with that. It's a bit of a challenge. It's a challenge because one of the concerns now is making sure that you do not convert forests into the planting of cocoa, which our neighbors did, and that's the more reason why they are there. We also have a challenge of the land tenure system, which makes it difficult for us to do large-scale plantations in our country. So that's another concern we have. But then what we are doing at present is what we term as the productivity enhancement program. The productivity enhancement program, so for example, the hand pollination, the mass pruning, among others, as to ensure that the farmers are able to produce more with less land. And the expectation is that that will surely yield some results. If you look at farms that were moribund and the farms that have been affected by the stolen shoe disease, COCOBOD is spending a huge amount of money, a facility that was sourced from the African Development Bank. It's going into rehabilitating these farms, and the expectation is that when they come on street, they will surely propel to a higher level.
All right. Thank you very much for speaking to us this morning. We appreciate your time. All right. So that was the public affairs manager for the Ghana COCOBOD. All right, Frima, I think as it stands, it appears that the farmers will have to hold on a little bit as the various people that are involved, the committees and so on, discuss the issues and decide on what it is that COCOBOD can do in terms of upping the ante for the pension scheme for cocoa farmers.